2 at the Roar before the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and we've got GT gamesmanship afoot, and it seems to have paid off for at least 2 major manufacturers. We're going to talk about all of it and who's on pole for tomorrow's qualifying race right now. And welcome everyone to the Splash Zone. We are here at the International Horseshoe, and I figured since Kyle's not here and David Land on YouTube has a photo vest, might as well bring you to some place maybe you haven't seen before. And hey, maybe we'll go viral and someone will eat it right here behind me, and you'll have that thumbnail of me going, ah! But it's an exciting day here at the Rolex 24, as it usually is, let's be fair. And I have to tell you, it is Daytona cold right now. You may be able to see my breath, but man, for a state that's dubbed the Sunshine State, holy smokes, the humidity in the air when it gets cold is just, it is Arctic. I would almost rather be in Indianapolis right now in 10-degree weather. But you're not here to hear about the weather. Talking about the weather is so boring. We want to talk about race cars. And so that's what we're going to do. So, we had qualifying today for the qualifying race at the Roar before the 24, if that makes any sense. Tomorrow there'll be a 90-minute session, I guess we could call it. Who knows how hard everybody's actually going to go. And quite frankly and quite honestly, they shouldn't go all that hard. It's a 24-hour race. Why show your hand? Why risk crashing the car? There have already been cars crashed today, most notably and most seriously the Gradient Racing Acura. That car is still under repairs as we speak. So we're going to have to see, the good news, I guess, if you crash this early is that, hey, well, you got a week to get her fixed before we go racing. So cue the music. Let's get talking about the pole position for tomorrow's qualifying race. And it is the JDC Miller Motorsports number 5 in the DPI class. I still want to call it the old Action Express car. It is no longer that. There are 2 Action Express cars, however, in that top 5, including Jimmy Johnson in 5th in the number 48 Ally Bank Cadillac. Interestingly, he was the one who qualified the car. Only 2 manufacturers in DPI this year, and you can see that the only one that got into the top 5 is the number 10. There's 7 DPIs here this year. Number 01 Ganassi car got a penalty, got their 2 best laps yeeted for crashing right at the end of the session, bringing out the red flag. We move on to LMP2, and there's actually a connection to the top time in DPI and the top time in LMP2, and that is Ben Keating. We've talked about him before doing multiple classes. Well, he's doing multiple classes this year, and one of those classes is racing for the overall win. He's in the number 5 JDC Cadillac, as well as the traditional number 52 PR1 Mathiasen car. Now this car, or this class I should say, all Orica this year. Last year we had a Ligier from Rick Ware Racing, and we had a Dallara from Cetilar. Neither of those cars have returned. Cetilar has moved into the GTD category, and we'll talk about them in just a bit. LMP3. It's a slightly more interesting category if you're a technological fan, because there's actually a chassis battle. You have the Duquin, which is on the pole position for the qualifying race tomorrow, and then you have the Ligier. They seem to be pretty evenly matched. Both cars are both chassis are pretty even. As you can see, 3 each in the top 6 for today's race. And of course, Andretti Autosport is in this class of interest to my viewership. GTD Pro, KCMG Porsche on the pole position with a driver whose name is very hard for me to say, so I won't try it today. FAF Racing Porsche in 2nd. Lamborghini, the green one, which is the pro car, in 3rd. That car's been fast, or at least shown that it's been fast. The Aston Martin from Spirit of Race up there in the 4th position, which I think that's the first time we've really seen the Aston Martins kind of come to play. And then the Risi Competizione Ferrari. It's always good to see them back in competition, and they're back, at least for the Rolex 24 in GTD Pro. GTD Am, this is the first, I believe this is the first session where a GTD Pro car has not been, or a GTD Am car has not been the fastest overall in GTD. Kenny Habul, you may remember that name, for Sun Energy One Racing, Mercedes Power there, or Mercedes Chassis, Mercedes Power, of course, in GT Racing. Kenny Habul was awesome, by the way, the post-race or post-qualifying press conference. He said the lap took him a lot of balls, and then he proceeded to complain that 60 of the 90 drivers in the 24 hours of Dubai were wankers. McLaren, after the two first Mercedes, interesting to see the 59 McLaren up there. Again, we'll have to see what happens towards the end. Another Mercedes and the Cetilar Ferrari. It's good to see them. That car's being run currently by AF Corse. Of course, Ferrari, or Cetilar, ran a Dallara P2 car last year. Now they've switched to Ferrari and appear to have good pace. So, obviously, the big news, and really the story that I kind of identified right off the bat, to me, is the GTD Pro and GTD Am categories. And the fact that they're going to run very, very close. And not only that, because they're running so close and because you've got so many manufacturers, some factory efforts, some non-factory efforts, you have a lot of gamesmanship. We call it in the biz sandbagging. And with a balancer performance category, a rules category, naturally you're going to try to not show everything you have before it's game time. And if you can show that you're slow enough or go slow enough convincingly, sometimes the series will give you a break. And that is what's happened today for two manufacturers. And naturally, they're the two new cars, which really you wouldn't have a whole lot of data on if you're IMSA. BMW and Corvette, they've traditionally, or at least in the sessions that we've seen so far, have been the slowest of the GTD category cars. Now, the BMW got a boost. They got extra boost, turbocharger boost. I had spoken to one of the teams that is currently running the new BMW M GT3 car. And what they told me was that they were way down on boost, and in fact, IMSA was aware of this, allowed one of the Ray Hall Letterman cars to go out, have extra boost in one session, and that's when IMSA made their determination that they were going to allow BMW to have a little bit more turbocharger boost. Now, did it set the world on fire? Did they go P1? No, they didn't. But that's, again, the gamesmanship. I suspect when we get towards the end of 24 hours and the BMWs don't have reliability issues, I think they'll be right there. Corvette. Big story has been the Corvette. The fact that they have been so painfully and obviously slow. Well, they've gotten a BOP boost. They've been allowed a slightly larger air restrictor on their motor. Yes, restrictor plate racing is an IMSA. That's going to allow them to have a little bit more power. I think they've also had a little bit of fuel capacity change, and that will allow them to go further on stops. Balance of performance, of course, isn't just, lap time performance. It also has to do with pit stops and how long you can go, how short you can go, how much weight you carry, all of those things. There's so many things that go into it. It's amazing. So Corvette did improve. They were still at the back of the GTD Pro field. Again, I would say since they got a performance boost and their lap times improved, I suspect Corvette is playing this very well. I'll just put it that way. I'm starting to lean more towards the sandbag theory more so than the Corvette's in trouble. But again, it's all going to come down to 24 hours. How fast can you be? How consistent can you be? And can you stay out of trouble? 61 cars here. That's going to be another one of the big stories. And everybody I've talked to has said traffic and managing traffic and staying out of trouble, especially in that GT category. But really, if you're the prototypes too, because if the GT guys start acting like squirrels and crashing every 5 seconds, well, if you're a prototype, you may get caught up in somebody else's mess. So that's going to be a major key. Did someone just get in the... No, they didn't. I thought someone was off the track there. We may get through this and not have anybody go off, and I would be amazed if that's the case. So, I'm going to wrap it up here for day 2. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get as many driver interviews, at least on camera. Trust me, I've talked to a whole lot of people, and they've been great conversations, but unfortunately, I'm wearing a lot of hats right now. I'm doing this on my own, the Roar, or maybe I'm wearing a lot of vests right now, a lot of different vests. You know, it just so happens, you know, when I'm walking through the paddock, it's not like when I have Kyle here, and by the way, Kyle will be here for the actual coverage of the Rolex 24 next week, so don't worry, he's coming. You know, when I have Kyle, I can just hand him all the technology, or at least, you know, we can halfway carry each of the, you know, I can carry the mic, he can carry the camera, and then if we run into somebody we can talk to, we can get them real quick. It's a little bit different when it's just me. I have to kind of pre-set up interviews, and as you can imagine, rightfully so, the movers and the shakers who are out there right now, they're kind of busy right now. So don't worry, we're still working on that. We will have interviews and all that good stuff that you come to expect from my channel as the week progresses. It's cold. It is so cold. I'm going to get out of the splash zones now, edit this guy for you, and thank the drivers of the Rolex 24 for not trying to mow me down, spearing off the track. We did have a couple spin, but of course, it's when I'm not filming. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you tomorrow for coverage of the Rolex 24 Roar before the 24 qualifying race.